Bloodborne! What is Bloodborne, you ask? Well, Bloodborne is an action role-playing video game that follows a character called the Hunter through the decrepit Victorian city of Yharnam, whose inhabitants have been afflicted with an abnormal disease. The Hunter must unravel the mysteries that the city holds, hunt down its many terrifying beasts, and determine the cause of the disease that is plaguing the city in order to escape the nightmare that he finds himself trapped within. I haven't played it. But I have played Bloodborne the board game, published by Cool Mini or Not, which is based on the video game. Does the board game capture the same eerie gothic unease that I imagine seeps from every corner of the electronic version of this game? Well, let's find out as we take a look at the big idea behind Bloodborne, followed by my thoughts on it. As the Bloodborne board game begins, each player finds themselves with an identical hand of weapons and abilities. As the players continue through each round, new monsters will be drawn from a deck and encountered by the entire team. As the players attack and wound the monsters, they will collect samples of its blood, which they will need to eventually bank for safekeeping before it's too late. The player who inflicts damage on each monster when it dies will also earn some rewards. And at the end of the game, the team will face a horrific boss monster, which will test the player's ability to work together while still serving their own interests. Because even though you're all in this together, this is not a cooperative game. Over the course of the game, a deck containing additional weapons, items, and abilities will be cycled through, providing opportunities for the hunters to customize and specialize their decks. Bloodborne is an interesting game that, even though it may periodically require some level of player cooperation, is not a cooperative game. Players will be scrambling for items and trophies as they trudge through the barrage of oncoming monsters. And while doing so, knowing when not to play aggressively, but when to pull back and reset your hand is an important skill to master. Now, this game centers around accumulating cards in your hand that work well together, and I enjoyed creating the best combos that I possibly could, and I also like the way that the resources that players accumulate need to be banked before it's too late. But the gameplay revolves around its cards, and perhaps because the cards are such a focal point of the game, that's where the primary problems that I encountered were found. First off, the artwork on the cards themselves is dark. And by dark, I'm not referring to just spooky themes. I mean the artwork is muddy and dark. It's visually difficult to make out some of the things that are depicted on these cards. Bloodborne is based on a computer game, and some of the cards look like maybe they were screenshots or 3D models that were extracted directly out of its electronic counterpart and plopped right into the card's print file. And the end result is sometimes a little unrefined. But the other issue with the cards, which is a much more important issue, is that we went through the entire deck of equipment cards on our very first play of the game. As a result, it felt like we saw everything that there was to see in the game on our very first adventure through it. And so the second, third, and subsequent plays wouldn't hold any new surprises for us. Flipping that next card over to discover what weapon or item you'd find next was a big part of the excitement while playing this game. And without that, I worry that the game could start to feel redundant or stale, resulting in changing one's playstyle to just cycle through the deck waiting for certain specific cards to come up. So that's why, in my opinion, an expansion containing more monsters, more weapons, and more gear is definitely needed to give this game legs and its wings. Currently, Bloodborne has potential, but I feel that it needs to be fleshed out by an injection of about twice as much content before it's really able to stretch its wings. So, this is a great one to try, but if you're on the fence, perhaps you'll want to keep an eye out for an expansion before investing fully in it. I hope that this overview has been helpful, And for more board game news, reviews, and commentary, be sure to subscribe to both the Pair of Dice Paradise and Dice Tower YouTube channels. And follow us on Facebook and Twitter for more board game conversations as well. In the meantime, I've been Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise, and take care.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Bloodborne is an action role-playing video game that follows a character called the Hunter through the decrepit Victorian city of Yharnam, which inhabitants are inflicted with an abnormal disease, and apparently the game is so eerie that you can't help but just break into an accent while you talk about it. Oh no! Whatever will we do against this horrible affliction in Bloodborne? I may need to lie down.